Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. I am live from my work office because I don't have time to do things because I have a life and a job, multiple of them. I will say, earlier today I just got back from watching a nice showing of Disney Pixar's newest animated film, Elio. Let's start it out with this. The basic premise of Elio is that you are not alone. One of the common science fiction themes that you see all over any kind of science fiction media is that we're never truly alone, even if you are, even if there's like everyone against you in one planet, there might be others that are more willing to accept you. Just to do a quick premise of Elio, the story of Elio goes as this. You have this kid named Elio who is very obsessed with aliens, obsessed with space, obsessed with the extraterrestrial. And after the death of his family and being taken in by his aunt, he gets dissatisfied with life. He's very quiet, doesn't really want to connect to people, but he finds life in the extraterrestrial. And it takes a head whenever we found out that aliens do exist. And Elio gets taken on the big adventure where he is basically considered leader of Earth. And all I'm going to say is this: hilarity does ensue. But amongst that hilarity is a very deep, heartfelt movie about processing grief, about belonging, about being not alone. And that's one of the basic themes that I've seen permeated all throughout this movie. And like I said, it brings back elements of other shows along this kind of isekai-esque escapade, like the Owl House, Lilo and Stitch when it comes to the science fiction. And you can also say kind of elements of like stuff like Amphibia, just like a lot of these recent, like very coming of age shows that happen to deal with people of color trying to fit in with others and finding family, finding chosen family within others, within other people amongst them, and trying to be accepted within those spheres. I really found that to be fascinating because of just how much, like how little, like people of color have really been represented in these spaces, and now we have so many like different ways, especially with like the Latina community, of just like showing just different ways of being able to just like be accepted, and just showing that like even you're not alone, and showing that these stories that feature these people of color are necessary, exist, and are needed. And that's what, trust me, they're needed. I don't know how I was feeling about this movie coming into it. Originally, I remember like watching the first season that came out like in early like 2023, like before the strikes and all of that, with the release date of like March 2024. But it felt like Disney didn't really know really how to, as they say, take care of it. They didn't know how to market it. And I think that they just try to dump it anywhere. And June is just happens to be their, like Pixar's kind of like usual month that they have any kind of release. So that's a thing. What I really did like about Elio is just the fact that it just really did feel like a return to form for Disney after experimental phase. And I love the Pixar movies of this era, like especially Soul. Soul spoke so much to me and talked about so many different things, especially with the concept of like the greater unconscious, what's life after death. And I feel like once you go talking about actual souls, where else can you go? Where else can you go? So the storytelling of Elio, I found it very fascinating as well, because it feels like a very return to form. But what I mean by that is that it's very like has a clear villain. It has clear motivations for why the antagonist does what he does. And even in those antagonistic actions, you still find that there's heart in it. Especially that's it's the Pixar way. Even the villains have hearts, right? It also really just brings up other aspects of like extraterrestrial life. And we don't get to talk about aliens enough. We don't get to talk about the fact that there's like alien life possibly out there. And It also brings up different interests of space, of ham radios, of just trying to find different forms of communication. That there's a scene that's later on in the film that takes this form of like not being alone and all these different forms of communication, and it brings it to next levels whenever Elio and Olga get into a sticky situation. And you'll see what I mean when you watch the movie A Sticky Situation. I found myself really liking it. And it makes me sad that when it comes to Pixar, especially Disney at this current moment of time, that they didn't really know. I don't think they really know what they're doing with it. I think that they're not really understanding about how to market this, but I do have this sinking, inking feeling that it might flop hard. And I don't want that to happen. Like, fans of animation, fans of just Pixar properties in general, fans of Disney, this is like a really good film to watch. Please watch it. And I will say that amongst all the other films that are in Pixar's catalog, this is a really good one. I'm don't know how. I don't know if it's going to be the best. I will put it up there, but I've also been a fan of Pixar for so long, so I'm like, it makes you wonder where it's going to go. But I do highly recommend this. I think that there's an audience for this, and I'm gonna go on a positive note and say that book ending this with like Lilo and Stitch, and then watching Elio, I think you're in for a nice little extraterrestrial treats. And also get like a lot of cute things on top of that. Thank you for watching. And of course, if you want to like and subscribe, I'm trying to get back into this whole thing. So please like and subscribe so I can do more. And thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. You have a nice one.